Welcome to the Vandal Insider Podcast, presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Get the latest information on University of Idaho athletics you won't find anywhere else. It's all here on the Vandal Insider Podcast, every fan source for all things Idaho athletics. Here's your host, Dennis Patchin.
Welcome to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. This week we'll be joined by Vandals quarterback Joshua Wood to talk about the offseason and all things going on with the football team. Director of Athletics Terry Gawlik will also join us this week as we get an update from the leader of Vandal Sports. Titus Yearout will be here to talk about men's basketball and the trials and tribulations of trying to come back from a season-long injury and all that entails. And the voice of Idaho women's basketball, Doug Taylor, will join us. We'll talk Vandal hoops at the halfway point of the season. This Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. As the Vandals team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor cares for elite athletes, weekend warriors, and everyone in between. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are now joined by the Vandals starting quarterback, Joshua Wood. An unusual time to talk to a football player, but I'm always fascinated about this time of the year. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. Okay, football season ends. Mm-hmm. Spring practice doesn't start until April. What are you doing?
Just being able to, get to know the new guys that are coming in. We got 20 guys that came in for this winter workouts, and, we're excited for them. Just being able to understand them, build this team chemistry. This is the time where everyone gets close and everyone creates that bond. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to bring in much more guys, I feel like, in that spring portal. We might grab a couple guys here and there, but nothing more. This is the team I feel like we're going to have for the rest of the way. Season starts now. It's January, so, season starts in January, and we're trying to end it in January.
A lot of people think that you guys don't do much other than go to school and hang out and play intramural basketball or those things, but there is a lot of work being done once this semester starts and you guys get back on campus, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of work. Just starting day by day. In the weight room, we got our 7, 9, and 11 guys. And so, we're just building all through there. Coach Coop, our strength staff, having us get right every single day in the weight room, pushing weights, and just being able to then understand the new correlations of our offense and defense with the new offense coordinator and defense coordinator. So just all of us are trying to get as much as we can into that new playbook, and so then just correlating into everyone's skill set.
I want to get into that in a minute, but I want to talk about the weight room because I know that is a huge focus before spring football. I heard Coach Cooper yelling at you guys today, and I wasn't even in the weight room. I mean, so, but how important is the weight room this time of year?
It's absolutely important. We take that very serious, and us guys, we make it a joke, but it's time to go to war when you step into that weight room every single day. Just pushing each other, pushing each one each other step by step, and every time we step in there. And Coach Coop, he's going to be honest. He's going to yell, make sure that we're doing our job, and push through every single rep and strain. That's the big word that we use in there, is just straining, because at the end of the day, you're not going to fall down for your teammate when you're on the field, so don't do that in the weight room.
How long did it take you to appreciate the weight room?
I feel like right when I got into college. In high school, I was in there, but not as much. I'm not going to lie. But then once I got into college and seeing and sat behind a couple guys, being able to see that, you got to be in that weight room to take the hits that comes that you don't even see at all. Like blindside hits, sitting in the pocket, and then just running the ball and being able to take those hits out there.
Sidebar, did you watch the national championship game?
Yes.
Did you see the hit Mendoza took on the touchdown
run?
Yes,
that was a great
okay,
run.
So as a quarterback, most of us are sitting there going, oh, ow. As a quarterback,
Right.
What did you appreciate about that run?
That he put his body on the line for his teammates. He put everything on the line to go and just win the national championship. To put it all for his teammates. Breaks one tackle, spins, and then dives in, puts the ball out, and just takes that hit in his back. And so it's like, that's wonderful to see from a quarterback's perspective, because it's like you're doing everything that you can to win a national championship and to put your body on the line for your team.
I knew you'd appreciate that when you mentioned that. That was pretty cool. Let's talk about the change now. There's a new offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. From your perspective as the quarterback, how big is the change?
I wouldn't say there isn't as much of a change. We're gonna be a little bit more tempo. From being in the huddle as much, we'll be a little bit more spread, and just being able to push the ball down the field, take our quick game when it's there, and take the easy access, make guys cover us 53 to the third that Coach Shoemaker says to us, and just being able to execute at all times. That's the highest thing, and that's what we're preaching right now. Is execution is the biggest thing right now.
Has the terminology changed? I mean, is the same play from last year to this year a different terminology?
Definitely a different terminology, yes. Just being able to correlate those things from last year to this year, and just trying to find that verbiage where everyone can go out there and play fast.
Okay. So don't tell me what the play is,
mm-hmm.
but give me what the call was for the same play last year and what it is this year.
Okay, so
don't tell me what the play is.
Okay. Oh no.
I just want the call. I just want the terminology that you call in the huddle.
Yeah. Okay. So like, one play from last year would be Okie East. This year, it would just be climb.
Okay. So now instead of learning French, you got to learn Spanish, right?
Basically, yeah.
Is that easy for you?
I mean, with all the offenses I've been in from Fresno and having two different offense coordinators there, and then now two here, I mean, I've been through those type of basically every offense. And then also Coach Pat McCann, who was at Fresno State, he was at Eastern with Coach Shoemaker.
Right.
So he kind of ran the same thing that he ran at Fresno. It's kind of a little bit similar to what Coach Shoemaker is here, brought and implemented into this offense.
Which is ironic that Coach Shoemaker is now your offensive coordinator, because he's the guy who originally recruited you to go to Eastern Washington.
Yes, he is.
When he got named the head coach, what was your feeling? Or the assistant coach, the offensive coordinator.
It was exciting being able to, know that the guy that recruited me out of high school is now my offense coordinator. We've had a bond, and every single time that season has passed, he's gave me a little follow on the Twitter, tried to see what's going on. And when I hit the portal as well, he was a coach that had reached out to me. So it was great to hear that he was going to be our next offense coordinator, and he's here now, and he's installed an offense that is very fast, physical, and going to spread the field, most definitely.
Okay, we know how important February to March is before
mm-hmm.
spring practices for all the things you talked about. Turn the page, how important is spring football when you have two new coordinators on both sides of the football for this football team?
I feel like that's very important, being able to play fast and have everything keep going. Guys are going to mess up. It's a new offense, new defense. There's going to be tweaks here and there, but just being able to get everything in and know what works and what doesn't. That's where I feel like we're going to probably just test a couple of things, see who's good at what, and what guys are going to be put in those spots to correlate our offense to be a very high efficient offense.
You're in year 2, even though you have a new coordinator. You're in year 2 at the university. Is that an easier transition from year 1 to year 2 as from just I'm the new guy here?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys know, they see my face. They're familiar every single time. Coming in from the summer, it's completely different. I'm a new face, and just I have to get to know guys. as a whole team. Now I already know the whole team. Now it's just bringing in those 20 guys and knowing that it's going to be a whole family and, walking through the building, definitely more comfortable from the summer to now. So, yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to play your position, you have to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you have to scream and yell. Doesn't mean you have to, but you have to be a leader. Did that come naturally to you? Was that something you learned? How has that pathway been for you?
From being in high school, yeah, being the guy, I was under a lot of guys. I was under Dylan Morris and Nate Thomas. So Dylan Morris, he was a UW commit and 4-star. So being able to learn from him as a freshman in high school, and learning to lead and understand, what guys you can talk to in a certain way and what guys you can't, and being able to lead by example as well. And then just following up, being behind Jake Hainer when I got to Fresno State, it was a wonderful feeling being able to know how to study film, bring guys in, teach them how to watch film, and just go throughout every single step of the way. And then I get here under Coach Linehan, who's been a quarterback, and he was our quarterback coach. And so he also gave me the examples in how to be a quarterback and what leadership really is. And we had a whole little PowerPoint, and he went through it all and just going through that. And then when I first came in to Idaho, it was just lead by example. When you're a new guy, it's just, I felt like that if I just lead by example and I don't have to say anything, because there's no room for me to say anything because I am the new guy. And so it was like being the quarterback, yeah, you can say and rah-rah and be the guy that yells and everything, but when you got to lead by example and earn others' respect before, they take yours.
What would it mean to get this team back to the playoffs for you next year?
It'd mean everything. It'd mean everything to get back to the playoffs. This year, it wasn't the year that we wanted. A lot of hurt guys, and I felt like that was a little bit of the reason why. And so this year, definitely pushing everyone to be the best that they can be, elevate their game, however it needs to be. If it's studying in the film room, getting extra field work, and just doing extra meetings, whichever ones that it is. Just trying to elevate everyone's game to be the top that they can be.
Joshua Wood, the Vandal starting quarterback. The football season is here. I know there's not a game until September, actually early August this year, but the football season is here. Always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
This Vandal Insider Podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. When he's not caring for the Vandals as team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor provides the same MVP orthopedics care to our entire region. At Inland Orthopedics, our team is your team. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are now joined by Director of Athletics here at the University of Idaho, Terry Gawlik. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
I appreciate you, as always, when we get to sit down and talk about things that are going on. And what's the main course on your plate right now? Because I know there's a lot of other entrees on it, but what's the main course right now?
Well, obviously, supporting our basketball programs, and they're having a great season. A little up and down, but it is always that way, especially if you go on the road. And onboarding football coaches. I believe we have a great crew coming in, and we've gotten some recruits in the portal. Lost some athletes that exited the portal, etc. And then, besides meetings, always have meetings. Seems like that's the nature of this industry right now. I'm still never going to call it a business, although it looks like it's more and more a business. So I was in D.C. last week for a couple of days, and it's always great to go to those meetings because not only do I participate on Division I cabinet, but I get to see some colleagues that I spent time with, when I was in the Big Ten, or even met some people that the athletic director at Schreiner University in Kerrville, who I coached against folks down there and played at that facility, and they're adding football. So a lot of schools in Texas still adding football.
Wow. As far as the University of Idaho is concerned, what's the big concern for Terry and her staff right now?
I would say what we're always trying to do is forward think, and how can we sustain what we're doing. which is providing a great experience for our student athletes, but also enhance it. What can we do to enhance it? So we do have a athletic facility plan to look at potential opportunity to do some building. One of the first projects we're trying to tackle right now is the tennis court, because right now our outdoor tennis courts are unplayable. And then we have a plan for potentially the west side of the Kibbe Dome and maybe this building, et cetera. But they're all plans. So it all comes down to financials.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge right now for every athletic department.
I know you and I have talked about the Kibbe Dome kind of, I don't want to say replacement, but kind of, improving not necessarily the dome itself, but the other things, locker rooms, office space, all kinds of things. People will notice the enhancement if they come to a game, ticket facilities, all this other stuff. Where are you in that? Is the plan done? Has the university said, go ahead? Are you raising money? Where are you on this pathway?
We haven't actually rolled out the entire projects, and I'll say that because there's a lot of them, but we're looking to try to do that in April, might be till May. So it took quite a bit of time, a couple of years. Tim Mooney and I worked on it diligently, and so we do have a booklet that we can show people, hey, here's a vision of what could be. But one of the things in terms of the actual Kibbe Dome itself would be looking at new video boards, ring boards, and we're actually we may do that earlier than any kind of project, because the video board we currently have is outdated and quite honestly has some issues that I don't know how much longer we can keep patching it.
Yeah.
But on the west side, if we did that project, it would add ROI. So we'd add some more seats, because right now we're sold out in all our, club and suites. So we would look to do that as well as part of that project. And, for the fan, it would be extended restrooms, concessions, all that stuff. We'd potentially have a kitchen in that project. There's lots of things we could do over there on that west side. And plus it'd be like a pretty grand entryway into the dome itself.
I would think, considering what you just finished a few years ago, the ICCU arena, and how everybody is raving about what you guys did, how you did it, and what it looks like, I would think going back to boosters, saying we have another vision that we'd like to improve this facility, would make it easier to raise those funds because of how well the last one went. True or not?
I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
And we did hire the same architecture firm to do the design, so it does blend in, if you will, to what the arena looks like. Obviously, you don't do anything to the Kibbe Dome roof, it's never going to look any different. And I know we do need to do the outside of the roof. It needs to be redone at some point. But back to your question about, the donors. Yes, I would love it if everybody looks at our vision and goes, hey, this worked out good. And in this particular case, it doesn't really enhance what the football athletes would be getting, or the track or the tennis that we do in there, but it would be for the fans and just the amenities that come with that side, and you could walk around the whole concourse, if you will, and all those kinds of things. So the problem is there's a lot of other things we need too, quite frankly. We're in the middle of doing just a refresh to the football locker room. So we got some funding for that. In this particular building that we're sitting in, and which includes the football locker room, we don't have air conditioning. Well, what are we going to do about that? We did get the hot water heaters fixed, so that was good. So we have heat and hot water with the boilers and the new plumbing system. So there are some things we've been doing behind the scenes, but it continues. And then on top of that, the cost of having athletes transfer in, transfer out. What are we going to do with those types of things? So we're looking and exploring all options.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about basketball. We kind of touched on that before we started this podcast a little bit. It's January. As a director of athletics, as a former basketball player, as head coach, where's your mind right now when it comes to basketball, with 2 months before the conference tournament?
Well, I would say kudos to both of our teams with the young people that they've recruited, and the energy and the gut and the fight. I mean, look at our men's program getting down what was it, 18 and then 21?
18 and to Montana, 21 to Montana State, and coming back and taking the lead in both, winning one of those, but rallying all the way back. Yeah,
that's hard to do. Now, it's not as hard as it used to be before there was a 3-point when I played. But anyway, yes, it has been accomplished. And I do feel that we are in a much, much better spot with both of our programs. And time will tell, obviously, going, into March towards the tournament. I mean, right now it's a little too early. But if you can win on the road, that's one point for you there. If you can sustain and stay healthy, knock on wood, and continue to grow and continue to develop and learn from your mistakes, I think that is one of the things that will push us at a really good seed and perhaps opportunity to do the thing that we want to do, win the championship.
Yeah, get to the NCAA tournament, something that the women haven't gone to in a while and the men haven't gone to in a long time. So we'll see if that can happen. The other thing is you mentioned is, this happens all the time. Either coaches leave because assistant coaches leave because of a better job or leave because they didn't do the job well enough here. How involved are you when coaches hire assistant coaches?
I'm involved as much as they want me to be. Sometimes I meet their candidates, sometimes I don't. But I always tell them, look, I hire you to be the head coach. I'm not going to do your job for you. But if you need my help with anything, if you want to chat about, hey, what do you think about making a change? I'm open for that. But I will support you in whatever you're doing.
So you're more hands off unless they asked you, as opposed to when you hire a head coach, you're
all in.
Yeah.
All in.
I was going to say you're hands on, but all in is a way better terminology. Have you had coaches say, "Yeah, I'd like for you to help me"?
Oh yeah, I've had a few, particularly if they're going after someone that I've either had a relationship with that particular individual or I know somebody that's been their administrator. You always want to do your homework, so to speak, and make sure that you're bringing in. I do believe that the culture we have built here is really, really strong. And I've told people, it only takes one or two people to bring it down.
Right.
So you need to monitor each other, utilize each other, and look for the type of culture folks that we want to have in our offices day in and day out.
You just came back from NCAA meetings, and you talked about I before. We always talk about what you want to talk about and how we want it. But you mentioned one of the things is that flag football is coming to college football for women. Mm-hmm. Are you excited about that?
Oh, I'm excited for any opportunity for any sport, men or women. So I think it'll be great to add that opportunity. I think in some respects it's a fairly easy sport to add, particularly if you have football, because you've got a field. I would expect it's relatively inexpensive, although the equipment, I don't know. I don't think they go to the extravagant shoulder pads, all the kind of pads. I don't know. I haven't even checked that out. So I think it would be great for young women, and it's an Olympic sport now, if I'm correct.
Correct. And it's starting to make its way into high school, so there is a feeder program for that. Is that something that the University of Idaho would add?
We're not looking right now to add any sports. We have enough challenges with keeping going with what we do have. So, but you're always keeping an eye on what things are being added around the country, and you'd have to look at it from a regional aspect too. Like, if nobody else around here is going to add it. I know that Idaho State's looking to add a women's sport. I don't know what. Right now, we're good with our roster proportionality.
What else? I mean, every once in a while you go to these meetings and you come up with something, or you think about something, or something happens. Was there anything else that jumped out at you at these meetings that you said, this is going to be great for athletics here at the University of Idaho, or this is going to be a problem, or is there anything in there?
Right now, there's a lot of things percolating in my little brain, so to speak, that I haven't had a chance to get a follow-through on. But, yeah, I've got some ideas on some things that we could be doing. So we're pursuing a little bit of outside help to evaluate it.
When you go outside for, as you said, quote, help, what are you actually looking for the outside help to help you with?
To look at what we're doing, what our possibilities are, and quite frankly, how can we get the best return on investment I mean, we need to find ways to generate funds. So that's what we're doing.
When you hire these outside help people, are you finding out that, yeah, for the most part, we're really doing things well?
Depends on what we're looking at.
Okay.
You know, we have a ways to go in certain things, but then in other areas, I believe, just from taking a step back and assessing everything going on, I'm not a big believer in just jumping right in and paying the ungodly fees that you have to pay. I'd like to take a look and see and make sure that we don't build something that has unintended consequences, if you will. So that's what we're doing, is looking at, hey, here's where we are. Here's what our culture is. Here's what we want to look like moving forward, and continue to do the things for all of our athletes. So, i.e., we're not going to drop sports. So go forward with what can we do to even elevate ourselves even higher.
Sounds like the girl from Texas who used to jump into the pond wanted to make sure she knew how deep it was before she jumped in.
Well, you had to watch out because we did have an alligator in my cousin's pond one time, so you didn't want to get attacked.
No, you don't want any alligators running down the highway and coming at you. We always appreciate the time. Thanks so much. We'll visit with you before the Big Sky Conference tournament. Thanks for being on our podcast once again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all you do. Love listening to the radio show. Take care. Go Vandals.
Today's Vandal Insider Podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. As the Vandals team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor cares for elite athletes, weekend warriors, and everyone in between. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are now joined by Titus Yearout from the men's basketball team and from Lapwai. How are you?
Good. Really good.
I'm glad that we got a chance to visit. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
First of all, if people didn't know, you have not played this season because of an injury.
Mm-hmm.
How is the rehab going? How are you feeling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thanks for having me. Rehab, I mean, I'm feeling great, honestly, right now. I had it back in August. Now we're in January, almost February. So I got a couple more months till I'm, like, almost back to, doing full workouts and stuff. But it's been a long journey. Definitely some highs and lows throughout it. And definitely want to be out there with my team. But it's nice that I can just be support and bring energy to the team.
What was the hardest?
Mm-hmm.
Getting the news that you're out for the year? I got to think mentally, and then physically, obviously, the work of just getting yourself back, because it was a torn labrum in your hip, right?
Yeah, it was a torn labrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, mentally was probably harder than the physical aspect of it, honestly. Just because, I had the injury, and then mentally I was like, I'm not injured, so I kept trying to, play on it, and then I finally figured out what it was. And then, yeah, so it was hard, but, honestly, it was good for me to, I feel like just kind of take a step back and focus. I've been able to focus on just my weight in the weight room and stuff, so I've gone bigger, stronger. And then another thing is just, academics. I had 4.0s this last semester and stuff, so it's been nice to, be able just to kind of focus on that and focus on myself in that aspect of things as I slowly, come back.
It's ironic that that Trey Blassingame had the same injury almost a year to the day, which is kind of crazy. Have you been able to use what he went through to pick his brain? What am I supposed to expect? Has he been an aid to you in that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've asked him tons of questions, and he's just been super helpful and just kind of a shoulder to lean on, honestly, because he's been through it, so he knows how it is. And it's not the same for every person, but, having someone you can lean on like that that's been through it and was mentally strong enough to get through it and then be back on the court is, yeah, definitely good for me. So,
well, I was going to ask you about that. You're seeing him play again, doing what he's doing. That's got to give you some encouragement, hey, all I got to do is do the rehab and I'll be back out there next year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just staying consistent with the rehab and just taking it day by day. And, yeah, you can see how it helps and you can be out on the court again. So, hopefully that's where I'm at in the next few months. But
every time I've seen you, you always have a smile on your face. Did that smile leave at any point in time during this process?
I wouldn't say it left, no. There's definitely some low moments, like I was saying earlier, but I've been just trying to keep a positive attitude on everything. everything happens for a reason, honestly, is how I've been trying to look at it and just trying to take the positives out of everything, So it's been nice to just kind of take something that was, not the best, but then see the positives in it and just kind of grow from it. Not only like as a basketball player, but just as a human, I feel like it's helped me a lot.
What does it mean to be on this team with 4 other guys from the state of Idaho, including Jack Payne, who's one of your closest friends?
No, it's an honor. It's awesome to be able to go out there and see guys from Idaho. I played against this guy. I was on this guy's team. Like, it's awesome that we have that connection, and it's awesome that our coaching staff is keeping Idaho in Idaho, and I think that's big for this program. And, yeah, no, it's awesome being able to just have those Idaho roots and kind of just have that connection with those guys.
Was it easy to make the decision to come here? I know you don't live that far away. You're an hour away from here. Was it easy, or was it a hard decision to come to Idaho?
Shoot, I would say a little bit of both, honestly, because I did decide to come here super early, so it was hard for me to make that decision, but ultimately I did. And this school was always something in the back of my mind that, okay, I could see myself playing up there. It's 45 minutes from home. Good, so it was a little bit of both, I'd say, but ultimately it worked out for me, and I'm glad that I ended up here. So
you are one of the great high school athletes in the state of Idaho. When you were at Lapway High School, not only were you an all-state basketball player and a player of the year at your classification, you were also an all-state football player and player of the year in your classification. Was it hard to decide to play basketball over football?
At the end of the day, like, I always knew I wanted to play basketball, so I kind of already had that decided. But there was, for a moment there, I was playing football and it was fun, and I could definitely see myself going that route too. Like, I still envision it now. I'm like over in the weight room, like, man, I could have played football probably. Now that I put on a couple pounds too, I'm like, all right. But no, it was definitely fun playing football, but at the end of the day, I knew I wanted to play basketball.
So you were just a basketball player playing football, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I was still playing basketball, and then I would go to football practice, and then I would still shoot some hoops, but it was.
When you got to campus and that first football game rolled around on that first Saturday when you were here, how hard was it?
How hard was
not playing football?
Oh,
for the
yeah,
first time?
no, yeah, it's definitely different. Like, you always think about it, you're like, man, I wish I could put the pads on one more time. So, but at the end of the day, I'm like, man, my body, I'm already getting beat up in basketball. I can imagine football, but
what is it like? And I know that if you know Lapway basketball, you know where this question is coming from. But what's it like to grow up in that community, being a great basketball player? Because when you walk into your gym, there's a million state championship banners. I mean, there's not quite a million, but it seems like when you walk in there the first time. What's that feeling like?
Honestly, for me, it just feels like there's a little bit of pressure that comes with it, but then also it just feels like a blessing that I can, be that big of like a, I don't know, role model almost in a way, just because of what I did basketball-wise in that town and things. So, no, it's definitely just like an honor to be able to come from there.
But you weren't the first.
No, I wasn't.
You were just in that line of being 5, 6, 7 years old, going to the game, and I want to be that guy out there.
Exactly, yeah. But
who was your guy?
Guy, definitely my cousins, like Payne and Kendall, Riley. Like, just growing up, they just went out there and played hard and played the game the right way. So definitely some of those guys, for sure.
When you come to the University of Idaho, does your community come with you?
Oh, yeah, for sure do. Especially when I was starting to play more towards the end of the season last year, that I could just tell the difference in, like, just Lapway people coming up, and it was cool to see that it was getting filled up from just not just like this area, but also like back home, and it was cool to see that.
What's it like to go back home? What was it like to go back for the holidays and have people in the community come up and talk to you? What's that like?
Oh yeah, it's cool being able to catch up with people too after being up here for a while. I know you get busy and kind of lose those connections a little bit, so it's nice to go home on the holidays and just catch up with people that supported you from high school to now, and it's cool to just kind of catch up and talk. But
yeah, well, at Lapway they support you when when they open up the gym and the 5-year-olds go play, right?
Yeah.
But basketball is just so important
Mm-hmm.
to the people in that community and the surrounding area. Can you describe how important the game is for all those people?
Yeah, it's definitely just so important just because it brings people together. At the end of the day, I feel like that's what's most important is bringing, a community of 2,000 people and whoever else is coming in. And it just brings people together for a bigger purpose, I feel like, and it's able to put everything else behind them, and we can just focus on basketball for this, whatever it is. But yeah, it's definitely basketball is super important in our community, and yeah, the players that come from it too is just awesome to see. Not just me or the people from before me, but also just now seeing the younger ones that are coming up, like my brother and some of his friends, and just there's always just another generation, so it's cool.
All right, when basketball's over, whenever that might be, what's next for you?
Honestly, I haven't really figured out exactly what I want to do after basketball. I want to play basketball for as long as possible. I feel like I want to stay oriented in the sport though. So whether that's being a trainer or whether that's having my own gym or just something, I've always thought of something like that, but I'm not sure exactly yet. I'm getting a BBA degree this spring, and then hopefully, I got 2 years left. I could get my master's also. So hopefully that just opens the door up for me with, possibilities, and I can just figure it out. But
would you ever want to coach?
Yeah, I've definitely considered coaching, and that's also another thing I've been able to kind of sit back and see the coach's perspective too, being injured. So not job shadow, but kind of just see it from their side of things. It's been cool.
It's like you're auditing the class. You're not having to do the homework, but you're seeing what's all going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever be the coach at Lapwai High School?
I've always thought of that. Yeah, I felt like I could go there and lead a team to a championship. So that's always been, it's been a thought for sure, but
I'm glad to see the smile on your face. I'm glad you're doing good. I'm glad this rehab's going well for you, and I can't wait for you to be back on the court next year. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The Vandal men return home this week. They'll host Sacramento State on Thursday night at ICCU Arena, and Portland State will come visiting on Saturday afternoon. This Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. When he's not caring for the Vandals as team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor provides the same MVP orthopedics care to our entire region. At Inland Orthopedics, our team is your team. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are now joined by the voice of Idaho women's basketball, Doug Taylor. Thanks for being here. How are you?
You're welcome, Dennis. Happy to be here. I'm good. Yourself? I'm
excellent. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to kind of give us the mid-season point on Idaho women's basketball. From your perspective, and you've done a lot of games, a lot of years here at the University of Idaho, how good is this team?
It is the second best, if not the best team that I have seen in my time here, simply because of the way in which it is able to take over games, determine pace, and put opponents away. It's been a different thing under Arthur Morera, and he has more of the roster he has looked for in year two. So it's a great time to be an Idaho women's basketball fan.
There have been a couple of bumps in the road towards the end of the non-conference season, but and you got to have if you're going to go to the tournament, I think you're going to have to beat Montana State. Somebody's going to have to figure out that piece of the puzzle. But do you have a good feeling about this team as far as getting to the NCAA tournament?
They certainly have the opportunity to do so, and I don't mean that just in a legal sense or just in the fact that they'll have the opportunity because they get to the Big Sky Conference tournament. It seems to me that Idaho and Montana State are the two top teams in the conference. And right now I think you'd have to put Montana State 1 and Idaho 2. So you're going to have to go through the Bobcats. There's always the possibility, and March Madness is called that for a reason, that somebody on another side of a bracket can take somebody out. But I'm not going to go so far as to say that those two teams are on a collision course for that conference championship game in Boise on, I think, the 11th of March. But unless somebody steps in, it certainly could be that game around 3 there.
Well, and we thought at the beginning of the season Montana and Idaho State would be two of the other contenders, and you've seen both those teams, and Idaho had their way with both of those schools. So, to say that, I don't think it's unfair to say that Idaho and Montana State are the two teams to beat, and certainly Montana State with an early win, but that was in Bozeman. I mean, the Vandals are going to get them back here, and I think it'll be a different story. I don't know if they're going to win that game, but certainly I think it'll be more competitive.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it's a 33-point Montana State win, as the first one was in Bozeman. Do want to throw Northern Colorado in the mix as well. They've been very strong early on this year under Kristen Mattia. We're going to get to see them next week, a week from Thursday. So that'll be another barometer for where things sit for the Vandals. But right now, if you're Arthur Moreira and his staff, I think you have to feel good about where you're at, and you know who it is you're probably going to need to take down.
Right. What makes this team good this year?
I think it's the ability to be as strong in the post as they are, being able to rotate Lorena Barbosa and Deb Dos Santos as they're just kind of a two-woman post presence. I don't know if they've ever been on the floor at the same time this year. If they have, it's been very, very infrequent. So you have Lolo and her kind of 6'5" thing where she can hit you on the wing. She can hit the occasional three. She can take the ball down floor. She has those sorts of skills. Meanwhile, Deb is only 6 foot, but she has the post craft. And Lolo has that too, but Deb is she was an all West Coast Conference player in that department. And now she's bringing that to the Big Sky. She was named Conference Player of the Week this week. So she's able to do all sorts of different things. So it gives them those two different angles. Also, you have the maturity of Hope Hassman and Ella Uriarty, those two having more experience. And the addition of Kira Gardner has been huge for this Idaho team. Just her playmaking ability. She can take over games in moments, and the Vandals have needed it a couple of times from her.
As the broadcaster, what kind of team concerns you for Idaho?
I think it's a team that maybe hits a higher gear or maybe plays its best game, and for whatever reason, maybe just like not having a lot of prep time or whatever it is, the Vandals aren't able to get to their usual level. So what happened here against Idaho State, it was impressive coming off of the Montana State loss that they were able to bounce back and play that kind of 40-minute game. But Idaho State, when they get things at their tempo, could take down anybody in the league, just the way that they play. So you certainly have that. Northern Colorado, it's another thing where they don't like to get out and score. They want to play in the 50s and 60s and slow things down. If a team can bring Idaho to its tempo, then that seems like a team that can beat Idaho. If Idaho gets to determine the pace of the game, they're going to win most often. Montana State right now, I would say, is the only team in the conference who would be able to keep up and surpass.
This is your third head coach as the women's basketball broadcaster. John Newley was your first, then Carrie Amy for a season, and now second year with Arthur Moreira. What makes Arthur such a good coach?
I think it's that the players not only like him personally, just as this nice man who has come to coach this Idaho basketball team, but also they respect him and his defensive knowledge. So you often see players coaches where sometimes they can't get the reins on a team that maybe need that, or they'll tune out a coach like that. And then, of course, you have the coach who's also setting the line hard, and they will tell what you think regardless. And people can respect that, but sometimes that can also wear thin over time. I think Arthur knows the moments to be able to put his foot on the gas when it comes to pushing that and saying, hey, you need to listen, but also while being certainly a player's coach.
What do you like about this team? Because it's different for a broadcaster than just a fan. The fan comes to games, see the teams play, see them win or lose, and then they go home. You see them a lot. You see them on the road. You hang out with them. I mean, you're in meals together. You're traveling together. What do you like about this team?
It's an exceptional group of young women who are kind, and yet you get them between the 50 by 94, and something else unlocks. They're just kind of different, and everybody kind of has their role of being the tough, intense player. And then I'll mention someone again like Kira Gardner, where you'll see her out there like dancing to the music before the third quarter starts. And then you'll just kind of see her get into Terminator mode in the same game, maybe in the same quarter. So you have these different personalities, and they all seem to mesh well together. Like they really seem to enjoy one another's company. That I've noted really in both cases. And not that there were teams in the past that didn't like each other or anything like that, but just that these players know each other well already. They like each other. They know how to work with one another. If there is an issue, they're able to try and figure out what the issue is and resolve it. And they're a great group to work with.
It's interesting to me, and I've asked Arthur about this before, is in assembling this team, it's not just picking kids from parts of the U.S. and hopefully that can mesh. It's picking kids from all over the world. Some of them, English is not their first language, but he seems to have the magic recipe on how to put young people together and have them work for a common goal, even though they don't have a whole lot in common.
Yeah, it's something that he has honed skill-wise over the years at San Francisco as one of Molly Goodenbauer's assistants there. His job was to go out internationally, go and find talent, make connections, and he's still reaping the rewards years from now. To give you an idea, San Francisco played a game here in the 2018-19 season, my first year here, in which Michaela Ferencz, one of the Splash Sisters, sent the single-game points record, 41, 42 points in a game. And I was asking Arthur about that once because he was on that staff. And he's like, well, actually, I wasn't there. I was in Europe recruiting that day. He wasn't at the game. And so he was being sent all around the world, even during season, to go and make connections that would ultimately bring USF players like Deb Dos Santos and Lorena Barbosa, who have now made their way here with Arthur being the head coach. So all of those international connections are things now where coaches from across the world are saying, Arthur, I think I got a player for you. I think that was the case with Caitlin Conger, that the coach there was Spanish and he had been over there, and then he was coaching in Estonia. And he's like, I think you might like this player. Now she's here in Moscow, Idaho. Like, these are the sorts of connections now that are bringing these players from all around the world. And again, making the parts fit and helping players grow, especially for younger players. The first time in a new country, America's a little different place to live than other places in the world. But he seems to make it work, and he's certainly making it work this year.
Does he ever get mad? Because I tease him. I said, every time you want to yell at somebody, you just point to Drew, and Drew Muscatel, his assistant, yells at him. Does he ever get mad?
I think he does, but it just does not come out in the same way. Like, you don't see him yelling. You certainly see him frustrated. After the Montana State game, for instance, our post-game interview was not particularly long because he came out to talk, appreciate the time, but he was like, we got beaten every way we could get beat today. And there wasn't really much more to elaborate after that. So it was definitely our shortest interview. And so I could tell he was frustrated and upset about what had happened, because really in his first time in the 2 years as head coach, that was the first time that one of his teams had done that, where it just it was defeated roundly. Right. And so they've bounced back nicely from that since with a 2-0 home weekend. And so he channels that anger, I think, in different ways if it is. But he is, as you know, he's a placid man. And so it takes a long time for him to get into the red.
Is this and I've done enough teams to know that there have been fun teams to be around, and there are teams that, okay, this is work. Okay, sometimes when you get to be around a fun team, it's so much fun it doesn't seem like work. Is this one of those teams?
Yeah, I would say most of the teams really here have been that, because coaching staff and different roles. Like, again, John Newley was a hardline coach. I don't think I'm speaking out of school there, but he seemed to recruit players who respected that. And then off the floor, they were just kind of normal, goofy, happy-go-lucky 18 to 22-year-olds who were trying to find their way in the world. So you always have these little different things, but this group, especially in both years, they're a fun team. You'll see them cracking jokes to one another, and just it's like a great workplace where you don't want to leave. Yeah, they're great fun.
Yeah, I have come to realize that I am by far the oldest person anymore on the teams that I am around. So I kind of look at kids differently, and I try to remember they are those 18 to 22-year-olds trying to find their way in the world. I think that's a perfect example of a college athlete.
Yeah.
Because they're playing a sport, but they're going to school and they're trying to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah, and it can be at times a little daunting, especially early on. But then, once you kind of find that footing, then players can really take off. Like Ana Pinheiro last year, I think, was a great example of that. Freshman guard, a ton of talent, but it seemed like things were spinning at times. And over the year, she became more and more confident in what she was doing. And in year 2, it's been entirely different. There'll be a game where she doesn't score, yet defensively she's shutting the top guard on the other team down. And then, like last week, she was plus 28 and plus 30 in the 2 games. And so she wasn't the leading scorer for both games, but just doing everything on the floor that maybe isn't showing up in the stat column. As you grow, you become more and more confident in your ability.
I've asked some of the players on this team. I'm going to ask you, what would going to the NCAA tournament mean for you as a broadcaster?
I've never done it, so I don't know. But I'd be utterly excited to have that opportunity. I would be excited for this team and this staff to have that opportunity, because when you do that, it's been a decade since the last NCAA tournament appearance for Idaho women's basketball. You kind of reset things in a little bit of, now this is now the standard or the floor. Like, we can do this here. Why don't we do it again? And these can be things, if you build it properly, where you can perpetuate this going forward. So really, in a way, it feels like the next step for Idaho women's basketball to get back out on the dance floor, so to speak. But at the same time, there will be a lot of folks who will want to do that. And certainly, the folks in Bozeman right now are putting up a strong defense of their conference title from last year.
Certainly are. Doug Taylor, the voice of Idaho Vandal women's basketball. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate the update, and have fun this weekend.
We'll do. You got it, Dennis.
The women, just a game out of first place, will head back on the road this week as they'll play Sacramento State on Thursday night, then at Portland State on Saturday afternoon. That's going to do it for this week's Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. Don't forget to join us each week from the Idaho Vandal Coaches Show, live from 42 Bar Kitchen in Moscow, 6 Pacific, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, every Tuesday on the Idaho Vandal Radio Network. I'm Dennis Patchin saying thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for another edition of the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast.
This has been the Vandal Insider Podcast, presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Get the latest information on University of Idaho athletics you won't find anywhere else with the Vandal Insider Podcast. From in-depth conversations to game previews, the Vandal Insider is every fan source for all things Idaho athletics.